Hello, I'm James Izimoha. Welcome to Africa News. Let's see your headlines. Egyptian officials prepare to host talks to end the war in Gaza. Devastating floods kill more than 30 in northern Sudan, officials say. Nigeria hosts Africa's first electric powerboat race in Lagos. Talks to end the war in Gaza are progressing as Egyptian officials prepare to host key meetings on Monday. Pressure is mounting on all sides to reach an agreement that could bring the start of relief after nearly 2 years of war.
Egypt will host Israeli and Hamas officials on Monday to talk about swapping all Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners under a US ceasefire plan. Delegations from both Israel and Hamas will gather in Sharm el-Sheikh to discuss the terms of President Donald Trump's 20-point plan. Egypt's foreign ministry expressed hope that the talks will help end the 2-year conflict and ease the suffering of Palestinians. US President Donald Trump welcomed the progress. He said talks had been very successful and were proceeding rapidly. He urged all parties to move fast and said the first phase of the deal could be completed this week.
We had some very good meetings. The countries of the world, a lot of the countries surrounding Israel, frankly, Muslim, Arab, and many others have had great meetings with Hamas, and it looks like it's working. So we'll wait for a little while, see how it all turns out.
Trump's proposal includes a ceasefire for hostages deal, a phased Israeli withdrawal, and a demilitarized Gaza under international oversight. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also expressed cautious optimism. He said a major breakthrough could come during the Sukkot holiday and that all Israeli hostages might be released soon. However, he emphasized that Israel's military presence in Gaza would continue. Netanyahu warned that talks would not last long and said Hamas must disarm, either through diplomacy or force. Some members of Netanyahu's cabinet criticized the talks. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich called the deal a serious mistake, while National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir said his faction would leave the government if Hamas survives politically after the hostages are freed. Hamas accepted the US proposal in principle on Friday and says it's ready for mediated talks. The international community has welcomed the move and called for both sides to take this chance to end the conflict. In addition to Egypt and Qatar, other Arab countries such as Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and the UAE also expressed support for Trump's peace plan.
Somali and Ugandan forces have launched a major offensive against Al-Shabaab. The joint operation, dubbed Silent Storm, targets the group's remaining strongholds and aims to restore stability in previously volatile regions.
Somali and Ugandan troops have launched a joint push against Al-Shabaab, targeting the group's remaining stronghold under Operation Silent Storm. The campaign aims to weaken the militants' command structure and extend government control in previously unstable regions. Uganda, the largest contributor to the African Union mission, has been central to Somalia's counter-insurgency efforts for nearly 2 decades. Al-Shabaab, which is allied to Al-Qaeda, has waged violent insurgency across Somalia and neighboring countries, seeking to topple the government and impose its strict version of Islamic rule. The renewed offensive comes as security forces in Mogadishu repelled a major Al-Shabaab attack on a high-security detention center near the presidential palace. Officials say all 7 attackers were killed after hours of fierce fighting around the Godka Jilikau prison, which holds senior militants awaiting trial. The government says no prisoners escaped, but the assault highlighted the group's continued ability to strike at the heart of the capital. Security analysts say the new offensive signals growing regional coordination to aid insurgency and bring lasting stability to the Horn of Africa.
South Africa's opposition leader Julius Malema has been found guilty on multiple firearm-related charges. The ruling comes just weeks after his hate speech conviction, deepening his legal troubles ahead of next year's election.
Julius Malema has long been one of South Africa's most polarizing political figures. As leader of the economic freedom fighters, he has called for the expropriation of mines, banks and land, and is notorious for disrupting parliamentary proceedings. Now he faces the law on two fronts, convicted first of hate speech and now for illegally possessing and firing a gun in public.
Accused 1, in respect of counts 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, you are found guilty as charged. Accused 2, Mr. Snyman, in respect of counts 4 and 6, you are found not guilty and discharged.
It's a very, very important judgment because it shows that no one is above the law. You know, the reasons why countries fail and African countries fail, I mean, like possibly at the top end is the fact that leaders think they're above the law.
The conviction carries a maximum sentence of 15 years, but Malema appeared defiant when addressing his supporters outside court.
Going to prison or death is a badge of honor. We cannot be scared of prison. We cannot be scared to die for the revolution.
Despite uncertainty over Malema's political future, the EFF has rallied behind its leader and is confident the party will weather the storm.
The Economic Freedom Fighters is an organization that is far bigger than any individual. Julius Malema is critical to this organization. His leadership has been instrumental in the growth and the performance of the EFF, but he's also built a movement that will live far beyond Nazir Paulson or Julius Malema.
Malema's influence and controversies have extended beyond South Africa, from drawing attention during President Ramaphosa's meeting with Donald Trump at the White House to facing travel restrictions in the UK over his remarks and political positions. Yet his greatest test remains at home, where he awaits sentencing in January.
Still in South Africa, the Department of Transport has confirmed that an aircraft previously sanctioned by the United States landed in the country last Thursday, a development now stirring diplomatic tensions. The U.S. Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control placed the plane on a sanctions list in 2023. It was blacklisted for allegedly transporting Russian military equipment and providing logistical support to a Russian military base during the ongoing war in Ukraine. Isaac Lukando has more.
The aircraft, operated by Abakan Air, was reportedly carrying civilian and acrobatic aircraft along with general cargo. According to multiple reports, the plane had spent an extended period in Iran before arriving in South Africa. Officials in Pretoria say they were unaware of the aircraft's blacklisted status when they granted it landing permission. This event has renewed scrutiny over South Africa's diplomatic stance, especially its perceived leanings towards Moscow. The government insists it remains committed to long-standing agreements with Washington. Some analysts have compared this situation to the controversial docking of the Russian cargo ship Lady R in South Africa in 2022. That event fueled speculation that South Africa might be supplying arms to Russia, an accusation the government strongly denied. This latest development comes at a sensitive time, since the U.S. recently allowed the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, to lapse. This trade agreement had provided duty-free access to U.S. markets for over 30 African nations, including South Africa. South Africa is currently pushing for a renewal of the AGOA and seeking relief for the 30% tariffs the U.S. has imposed on certain exports. Isaac Lukando for AnewZ, Dar es Salaam.
Severe flooding in northern Sudan has killed more than 30 people and injured several others. Officials say over 1,000 homes were destroyed as waters swept through communities along the Nile. worsening Sudan's already dire humanitarian situation.
Residents of the River Nile state are counting their losses after the floods ripped through their houses and farms dead in the night. The civil defense in the Nile River locality says 34 people have died and 20 others injured in the aftermath. According to government reports, 1,000 homes have been destroyed in the north of the country along the Nile.
We were surprised by the flood waters. We were asleep and at around 1:30 a.m. the floods arrived. We woke up. We couldn't find a way to combat this massive amount of water. The amount is massive and we couldn't battle it late at night. But we are currently working to drain it. Our situation is truly terrible, really terrible. Everyone here is suffering right now, honestly.
The lack of equipment and resources has frustrated local initiatives to mitigate the damage, even as heavy rains continue to hinder movement in some low-lying areas. The rains have also worsened Sudan's already dire humanitarian situation, leading to critical shortages of food and clean water and hampering relief efforts. Some of the most affected say the disaster could have been avoided.
Heavy rains fell, but planning errors by the Abu Hamad locality in River Nile state are the cause of this disaster. They planned animal pens and shops in the flood waters, and these people ended up in the flood waters, and what we see happened.
The Sudanese Ministry of Agriculture and Irrigation had earlier identified 6 states at significant risk of the Nile flooding this year, including Gaza State and Khartoum. Authorities have called on citizens living in vulnerable areas to take the necessary precautions.
In Lagos, a new kind of motorsport made waves this weekend. The E1 World Championship, an all-electric powerboat racing series, held its first ever African event, blending high-speed excitement with sustainability.
The E1 World Championship made its African debut in Lagos, marking the first time the all-electric powerboat racing series has been held on the continent. The event showcases Africa's growing role in sustainable sports and technology, with officials praising Lagos for its energy, innovation, and alignment with E1's green vision. Organisers say Lagos reflects the spirit of transformation, driving the global expansion of the E1 series.
We are incredibly pleased to move from 2 continents to 4 continents in season 2 and having Africa in our map. Lagos is very important to us. From the very first time we were interacting with the local stakeholders, we understood the energy, the drive for a change, the drive for an evolution, and how much this city cares about the future in terms of sustainability, tourism, technology, and so on.
Another one is coming.
Spectators say the event offered a thrilling new experience for Lagosians.
It's been a wonderful experience. I've not seen this kind of water race before. I've seen Formula 1, I've seen professional golfers, but this is my first experience with the water something, and it's been a wonderful experience for me.
It's amazing to see that Lagosians can enjoy this type of sports, and Lagos State is doing a fantastic job at enhancing this side of tourism in Lagos, Nigeria. And I mean, a lot of people turned up and it's fun.
As the E1 series expands across continents, organisers hope Lagos's successful debut will anchor future African races. With growing investor interest, the championship aims to pair clean technology with global sporting appeal by 2030.
Well, that's all we have today in Africa News. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to AnewZ.